Well, hey friends and neighbors, this is Chuck out at Sheridan Park Farms. Welcome back to the farm. So we've not done an update on our timber frame building that we're going to do out here in a while. And I thought, I was up here in the shop working and thought it would be a good time to talk a little bit about where the building's at, what we're doing, maybe show you a little bit of stuff that I'm working on here, and just give you a general update on that. So hang out with us for a little bit and we'll talk a little timber framing. And I think Saundra is working on putting some gift baskets together for her mom and her brother, and I think she's getting some orders ready to go out to customers tomorrow. So got a lot going on. Hang out with us for a little bit and let's get a little work done.
So got a couple things going on today. Some of you may know because I've mentioned it in the past, but most wouldn't know that in the wintertime during tax season I work with my mom and my brother, and they're accountants, and so I guess I'm a bit of an egghead in the wintertime. And they are getting ready to go to a conference, and I can hear the jokes now. But anyway, they're going to have they have a booth at this conference, and they want me to get them some stuff together. They're going to do a couple of door prizes, and so it's my job to fill the baskets for the door prizes. So I think what I'm going to get is some honey, some apple butter, some tallow, what else? Some jerky, and some freeze-dried strawberries and blueberries. And that's what's going to go in these baskets. So the first thing I'll get here is a couple of mute jars of honey. And there's two baskets, so I'm going to do two of the same thing. That looks pretty good. Now this is kind of dusty, this apple butter, but I'll get it cleaned up and we'll use a couple of these. Here is some tallow. Get a couple of these. So here's what I've got so far. The tallow, the honey, and the apple butter. And the rest of it I think is down in the house. And Chuck's been working pretty hard the last couple of days getting his timbers ready for his storage building. And I think he's pretty much done. He's got all of his ceiling rafters done for the building itself. I think he's got a few more to do for the porch, and he's got about 3 posts to mill for the porch. But other than that, I think he's about ready. So he's had a couple of big days. He came in from working in it all day yesterday, and he was asleep by 9 o'clock last night. He was actually asleep around 8:15, 8:30, but he got up out of his chair and went to bed about 9 o'clock last night. So he's a whooped puppy right now.
So the part that I'm working on today is one of the porch posts, and I will put a schematic of the building up. There's a critter in the wall. Don't know what it is. There's a critter in the wall. I'm working on a porch post. I'm going to put a schematic of the building up. And this post right here is the middle post that will be in the porch. And the posts that I'm doing for the porch are the 2 corner posts on each end are post oak, and the center post is a white oak. Now, the reason that I done that was I didn't have enough white oak to do all 3 posts out of. So I did have one nice piece of white oak that a friend of mine gave me, so we've cut it into an 8x8, and that's what this is going to be. Let's look over here. I've got the post oak that are going to be our corner posts. Let's take these 2 timbers here are post oak, and post oak is in the white oak family, and these are going to be our corner posts for the porch, one on each end. So I've got one here that we still need to do all the joinery on, but this is one that I finished up earlier today, actually yesterday. Finished it up yesterday. 8x8 post oak ends up being, I think it's 8.5 feet long from the end of tenon to end of tenon. Tenon on the top, and the top plate sits down on that tenon to hold it in place. And then it's got 2 brace pockets on it. on adjacent faces. And these are, we have 2 inch, 2 inch, and then a 3 or 3.5 inch, I don't remember the measurement, I think it's 3 inch from the reduction, 3 inch mortise. Mortises are on a adjacent faces, and these are for braces. So you have a brace coming in on one side and a brace coming in on an adjacent side. I've done these with an old school style chain mortiser that simply does a plunge cut. One plunge is all it does. A lot of the newer style chain mortisers, they will plunge and then they'll rotate two or three clicks. And so I think you can get about a 30 degree sweep on those. With the single plunge chain mortiser, there's a lot more chisel work to do. It's not as neat, not as clean. While none of it will be seen, the measurements are right, so the brace should fit. I know that it's not clean and it's not really, really neat. It'll be hidden, but I know that it's there, and that bothers me. Should be fine. I mean, the building will work, but that just bothers me. And then on the end, we've got another small tenon, and all that is that's a placeholder. So the seal plate for the porch, there's a pocket on it, and that post, that tenon, the tenon on the post will just sit right down in that pocket, and then that holds that post in place. Both of these had a pretty good bow in them, and I cut the timber so that bow would be out away from the building, so it would just naturally bow out. But what I found was, maybe it's a little bit of an optical illusion. I know that they're bowed, but I think maybe the length of them makes it look more bowed than it is. Once I got this one finished, because overall length on this thing is 8.5 feet, I believe. The bow is not nearly as pronounced on this, so I'm very pleased about that. So post oak, corner post, corner post. Now the white oak over here, it'll be sort of similar. We'll have a tenon on top, tenon on bottom, same thing for the top plate and for the seal, but it will have opposing instead of adjacent. It will have opposing brace pockets. So there'll be a brace pocket on this side, a brace pocket on this side, because it'll be in the center, and there will be 2 braces that will go out like that. So that's how that one's going to work. So that's the scoop on these. We've got take that back. We've got most of the stock cut for the building, except for some braces and rafters for the porch. I got all the rafters, all the roof system for the building done. It's just it's a slow go, and I get it's a slow go, and it's not a project that's moving along fast, but it is moving along. I told Saundra this morning, I think we're sneaking up on it. But Dan and I talked earlier today. We think we got everything done except for those porch rafters. We're going to take a day and we're going to do an inventory and make sure that we got everything done. It's just hard for me to take a day to come up here and spend all day doing joinery. It's tough to take a full day and spend it all day out at the sawmill to cut stock, because I'm still working full time and we're doing YouTube videos, and we've got the farm and we've got customers, and now the holidays are sneaking up on us too. So we just got a lot going on. It's just a slow project, but we're getting there.
So as you can see here, I've got my apple butter, my tallow, and my honey here. And now I've got some little pouches here for freeze-dried stuff. This is what I'm going to put my strawberries and my blueberries in. So I'm going to put some labels on these that have our name on.
All right, y'all. I've said this before. We get so many emails just about daily, companies wanting us to try out their product. A couple of weeks ago, the folks from Mando reached out and wanted me to try out some of their personal care products. I said, sure, send it over. When you're out here on a farm working, sweating all day, you're around these animals, everything starts to stink. And the last thing you want to be stinking is you. This stuff, unlike a lot of that stuff you get at the box store, works. I've been out sweating, working all day, and about halfway through the day had to go in, change, put on a dry t-shirt, reapply deodorant because I was starting to offend myself. That's not the case here. They sent us some whole body deodorant. You can get places that you can't get with a stick deodorant with that. Some whole body lotion, some body wash, deodorant, some wipes. This stuff is made for blue collar guys like us that are just out here trying to make a living. This is not that fancy stuff that the skinny jean guys are wearing. This is made to actually work. And that's what I really like about it. So I'm gonna leave a link in the description down below. Got a little bit of a coupon code. Go over there and give Mando a try. Don't mask it, Mando it.
Okay, so I've got my apple butter, my tallow, my honey, and my jerky out here. And now I'm going to work on my strawberries and blueberries. And I've got all the paraphernalia out here. These are some bags that we'll use to package them. And these are specifically made for freeze-dried stuff. I've got some little gel packs to go in them to absorb any moisture. I've got some labels, and I've got my sealer for these bags, and I'll show you how that works. And I've also got my scale. We're going to weigh these out. Either 1 or 2 ounces worth of product in one of these bags is perfect. So we'll see which is better, 1 or 2 ounce. So I think I'll put my labels on first, and that way we'll be weighing just product. And you know, doing these packages and getting these ready for Mom and Jeremy, that's just another form of marketing for us. And that's the way I see it. We'll get this stuff out here, and that'll get our name out, and folks can see a little bit of what we do with these products. All right, so I've got my labels on here. And I'm going to turn my scale on, and then we'll tare it. And we're set to ounces. And this is a label for blueberries, so we'll do that first. And these have a zip top on them. And then here's my package of blueberries. And I don't think they're sealed. No, they're not. All right, let's see how much that weighs. 0.8 ounces. So 1 ounce is going to be a gracious plenty in this package. We may have a hard time closing the package. There we go, 1 ounce. Nicely. So you can, so see this package has a window, and you can see what's in it, and also the label tells you what's in it. So I'll do 1 more of these and then 2 strawberries.
And you know, that's been one of my favorite parts about this whole project is the fact that it is, believe it or not, that it's moving slow. It's teaching me a little bit of patience, a whole lot of necessity to slow down and pay attention. When you're looking at these plans and you're figuring out where to cut your brace pockets, are you cutting your brace pockets on the right side, or you on each side, or are you cutting it on the front and back? If you cut it on the front and back, that whole timber's ruined. If you're cutting them on the sides, then you're okay. So it's caused me to have to slow down and pay attention, and I think that's been good for me. You know, we live in such a fast-paced, instant access, instant gratification kind of world that a lot of slowing down, taking your time, and doing something with your hands, I think, is going away. And like I say, that's one of the parts that I really enjoyed about doing this building and doing what we're doing. I could have went down here on 421 major highway that runs through the county. There's 4 or 5 of these, building sellers, building dealers, and we could have just went down there and bought a building and had it delivered tomorrow and be up and going with it. But we felt like, or I felt like, that this property really kind of deserves something a little more handcrafted, a little bit more traditional than just a prefab, something that you could get off the side of the road. And so that's a big reason why we're doing it, and I've really enjoyed it. Got me to thinking, I'm working on this, what do I want to do next? So I'm thinking about other projects. The timber framing piece, I really enjoy that. I think the bulkiness, the beefiness, the sort of the permanence of it. This just feels a lot more substantial than something that's framed out of, 3.5 by 1.5 kiln dried framing lumber that you get down at Lowe's. These are timbers that we've put on the sawmill. These are timbers that we've milled, and these are timbers that we've done the joinery on. Yeah, Dan's helping me, but I'm, I've done a lot of it. So, and continuing to do a lot of it. So, it's going to be nice to be able to walk in that building and look around and know, I touched that, I cut that, I done that, I built that, I made that, and just that ownership of something instead of a throwaway building that you can get on the side of the road. So maybe that's a little bit too much philosophy for this. But anyway, let's get to work on cutting the tenon on the end of this. I have gone ahead and sided this timber. It does not appear to have a bow or a sweep in it. We are using square rule, so I did find a nice square corner. So the sawmill, whoever was running it that day, did do a pretty good job of, we've got a nice square corner right here. This corner over here, not so much. It's off probably a 1/16, maybe an 1/8. But we've got a nice square corner to work off of, and that's what we're pulling all of our measurements off of. So let's get to work on this tenon, and we'll cut a tenon in the end of this thing.
And then something I just about forgot to do to this first pack of blueberries is put my moisture absorption in there. These are little desiccant packs, little silica gel packs. Put it in the back so you can't see it through the window. So there's my blueberry packs. And then we'll do the same thing with the strawberry. And I'm not going to be able to get an entire ounce of strawberries into this packaging because of the way the fruit is cut up. So it's taking up more room. So we're going to be doing 3/4 of an ounce of strawberries along with our little absorption pack. And so there's what the strawberries look like. Okay, I've got my strawberries and blueberries here in my packaging, and they're ready to go. And the next thing I'm going to do is seal them. And this is my sealer, and all you do is you put it, this little bag has a tear strip in it, and so you put your sealer above that strip. So when somebody goes to open it, and that's how that works. And these are ready to go. Turn that back just a little bit. And this is just an impulse sealer. It runs electricity along this tape, and it melts the plastic. So we're ready to go here, I believe. So here is what's going to go in our gift baskets. As you can see, everything has our name on it, even the honey. So we will be real well represented at this CPA conference next week.
All right, before I turn the camera on, I did do a little bit of measuring and do a little bit of pre-work. First thing I done was I cut this timber off so that we had a nice square end to work from. And like I said, this over here, we've decided that this is our most square corner. So this is what's called the arris. So we will pull all of our measurements off of this. That way we're very consistent and everything should be coming out right. Now, our tenon on the end, we have a 2-inch tenon. And so to get our 2-inch tenon, we're going to come off of our reference face, or our arris. This is going to be a 4-inch long tenon. And so I've already measured that out, and we've got 4 inches. We've got 4 inches right there. So I've made a mark here. And then we're going to come in 2 inches, and then we're going to come in 2 more inches, and that will be our 2-inch tenon. So we're going to have to do 2 and 2, and that's going to be our 2-inch tenon. So 2 inches off the arris, and then a 2-inch tenon, and then everything else is just, it is what it is. Now we will come in here and we will have about a half inch reduction. I think this timber is 8 inches, pretty close. Yeah, man, it's 8 inches on the money. So we'll come in here with a half-inch reduction so that we're reducing this timber down to 7.5 inches at our joints. Now, another thing that we need to do, and I've already done this off camera too, we're going to come down here on the end. Now I've got a red marker, and we have marked out our 2-inch and our 4-inch to give ourselves a 2-inch tenon. The reason I use a red marker down here, a pencil just don't do very well on that end grain and you can't see it. Now, we've got to figure out what material that needs to be cut off. So all that we're going to have left is going to be this tenon here. So let's go ahead and make our mark here. We know that this, make our mark. We know that this and this and this and this is all waste, 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 waste. So all of this chunk of wood right here needs to be gone. All of this chunk of wood right here needs to be gone. And all we're going to be left with will just be that 2-inch tenon right there on the end. That's all we'll have left. This is all waste. Let's get to cutting. There's a number of different ways we can do this. I'm going to use skill saw as much as I can because I can stay pretty neat and clean with it. Don't have to use the chisel as much, and it's a little bit faster. All right, so what I've done is I have set my plate. First off, I check square on my blade. I've got my blade nice and square to the foot or the plate on my skill saw, circular saw. So I have measured down and I've set my plate so that my blade runs right to what will essentially be the top of that tenon. And we're going to come back our 4 inches and we're going to cut this, we're going to make a cut here. Now, a couple things you can do. We can do what's called a kerf and smash. We can make multiple kerfs here, take our hammer, knock it out, and then take the chisel and clean it up. That works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make one cut here along the back. Then I'm going to do a little fancy saw work, and we're going to take our skill saw, we'll do it at a different angle, and we're going to cut like this. Cut it as deep as we can to take as much out of this as we can. Then we'll finish it with either the Japanese handsaw or we may finish it with a chisel. One thing this project has taught me, and I'm not saying this in a boastful way at all, but I have gotten much better at using a skill saw, a circular saw. So let's make a couple cuts here and see if we can get this tenon started. Okay, so I made that cut and I flipped it back up. Now, one thing that you've got to pay attention to, when you start flipping these things, whenever you're doing timber framing, you start flipping these things, if you're not careful, you will lose your place on your plans, and you'll be trying to make a cut that is not in the right orientation. So I have I flipped it back up here so that we're oriented right, and we're going to finish this cut. All right, so here's one side of our tenon, and that Japanese saw done a little bit of fuzzy work right there, and then it's not exactly smooth to the back. I'll just take the chisel and we'll clean that up, then we'll pare this back to this cut line that we made earlier, and that should be half of that tenon. We'll flip it over, bigger chunk of wood. We're not going to get as much, we'll get as much cut with the saw that we did, but it won't remove as much material over here as it did over here compared to what needs to be taken out. So we may have to do a little fancy work on that, but I'm going to take the chisel and we're just going to clean this up a little bit right now.
So we've got 6 orders for Saturday, and this is my first one here. And this customer got 2 ribeyes, 2 packs of chops, 1 ground pork, 2 stew meats, 2 sirloin steaks, and 5 packs of ground beef. So what I've done is I've recorded the weights on these products that we sell by the pound. So I've got those recorded. And then I take my insulated bag here and I put her order in this bag. And then these bags all have a number on them. And this one happens to have 2, so I'm going to take one off. So all these bags have a number attached to them with a little carabiner and a number tag. And so I will clip these together, clip the handles together, and I know that this first customer is in bag number 13. So I'll record that in my phone, and when I get to my drop site in the morning and that particular customer comes up, I just look in my phone. I know that her stuff is in bag number 13. I unclip it, I unzip it, I get her bags out, I hand them to her, and she's on her way. And unless somebody wants to stand around and talk, it could take our customers less than 2 minutes to come in, get their stuff, and be gone. And that's what we want to do. We want to make it as convenient as possible for the customer.
Made the same cuts on this side as I did with the skill saw on that side, but I only got you know, so far in here and so far in here. So we're going to do a little chisel work now and knock some of the big chunks of this out with a chisel. And then I may come back and finish it with the handsaw, just to make life a little easier and to keep it a little cleaner. I did stay, well, I didn't mean to, but I stayed a pretty good ways off of that red mark on this end with the skill saw. So there'll be quite a bit of cleaning up to do on that. What's stringy? That chisel over. They're taking too much.
And now I'll put this customer's insulated bag back in the freezer here, and I've got 5 more to pull. And the next customer is getting the biggest Thanksgiving turkey we have. So let's see what we got. So here it is. This is our biggest turkey, and he weighs 24.33 pounds. And these folks are having their Thanksgiving early, so they want it tomorrow. And I'm not going to worry about putting him in a plastic bag. I'm just going to put him in the insulated bag and call it good. He just barely goes in the bag. And he is in bag number 5.
Okay, I've done a little bit of cleanup work while we were off camera there, because I wasn't going to bore y'all to death with me just running a chisel. But if you remember, this tenon needed to sit 2 inches off of the face of our timber. And we have our framing square here, and this tongue actually happens to be 2 inches. So we're going to set it up against this, and then we'll take our speed square. Now, if this is correct, our speed square should slide across this with very little to no friction. So let's just see where we're at. Man, we are looking good. We might be just a little bit high right there, but I mean, it's not a 64th of an inch. So we can bring our square on out here a little farther. We can check again, see where we're at. Looks like we might be a little low on this side, still a little high over there. Maybe a little high in the front. This is actually pretty common to have a little bit, be a little thick up here and a little thin back here. But one other thing that we want to check is let's use our tenon gauge. Remember our tenon gauge here, we've got a 2-inch opening here. So if this tenon is in fact 2 inches thick, it should slide on, the tenon gauge should slide onto this tenon with little to no friction. And so we're on there, we get a little tight right there. So we may be a little tight on bottom, but we can easily, and you want it a little snug, we want it just a little bit snug. We can pretty easily get that on there. So I think we're probably okay with this. On raising day, when we start putting this thing together, we may need to do just a little bit of trimming, but I think we're good on this tenon right here. All right, the only other thing that we're going to do for this, and we'll wrap it up, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch reduction back here. So we want this tenon to be 7.5 inches tall. From right here to down here, we want it to be 7.5 inches tall, and we will trim that off. We'll do a nice little reduction back here on the back side so that it looks nice. It's just it's a aesthetics. So we'll do that, and we'll be done with this end of this timber. Oh, two other things that we'll need to do, and I'm not going to do them today. We'll take a rasp or a small plane, and we will chamfer all the edges of this, and then we will also reduce this tenon on the front by 1/8 of an inch. We'll reduce it by 1/8 so that we're not bottoming out whenever we put it into the mortise. But for all intents and purposes, we're just about done with this thing.
So it's a little bit later. I've been out here, I guess, 30-45 minutes, and it's gotten dark on me. So I stopped filming the bagging process. But I'm finished now, and let's show you what we've got in the freezer. So here are 7 bags going to 6 customers in the morning, and I will meet them at the Clemens Town Hall at 11 o'clock. So it's been a big day around here. I got my care packages together for Mama and Jeremy to take to their CPA conference. Went to see neighbor Beth. She had some stuff for me out of her garden. We'll be doing a video on that hopefully tomorrow or the next day. Tomorrow's Saturday, that's right. And then I've been out here packing orders for in the morning. So I think that's enough for today.
Okay, I think I think I'm gonna call that good right there. That turned out really nice. That whole 45 degree reduction. That's just a nice element. That's a nice transition from your 8-inch back to your 7.5-inch timber that you're trying to find inside that imperfect timber. I'm not an instructor on timber framing. Don't claim to be. I am I'm a pure novice, but if you're interested in learning more about timber framing, there's a couple of great books. One of them is by Will Beamer. I'll leave a link in the description for that book down below. Sometimes I've got it up here on the workbench with me whenever I'm working, just to refer to it and remind myself of some techniques and rules related to measuring and layout and the whole timber framing process. So I'll leave a link in the description down below for that. You know, about a year ago, not quite a year ago, I guess it was, I had talked to you all about how I'd found myself doom scrolling and just wasting time. And earlier in the year, I made a little bit of a change on that and stopped some of that doom scrolling and started reading. And I was reading a lot. And for the first, I guess I can go back and look and see, for the first 5 months, 5.5 months of the year, I read somewhere between 25 and 30 books. And I'm not talking, you know, C-spot run. I read some significant books. And I've recently found myself doom scrolling again. And what that is, and I shouldn't be complaining about it because I put out videos for people to watch when they're doom scrolling as part of my living. And maybe instead of doom scrolling, I should be doing more videos instead of watching more videos so that y'all have stuff to watch. But anyway, I digress. That takes time. That takes valuable time out of your life. And I need to be doing something more practical with my hands instead of sitting there and just flipping through and just watching the latest AI-produced Bigfoot video. Those things are funny. But I need to be spending more time either doing this type of work, filming more content for y'all, because that would help me achieve some of my goals, and filming more content and have more content out there, or reading. And I got a whole lot of pleasure in reading. I would get up in the morning. I'm usually up at 4 or 4:30, believe it or not. Saundra fusses about that because I had her up at 4:30 yesterday morning. And I would start my day out with some meditation, reading some scripture, and then reading. There were times I had 2 and 3 books going at a time. And so I would spend that first hour and a half that was quiet reading. And I need to either get back into that early in the morning or get up and put my clothes on and come up here and work on this type of thing. And then when Saundra gets up, she can text me and we can go have coffee and do our morning ritual stuff together. We have coffee and we play Wordle. That's about as old people as you can get right there. But come up here and work for a while and then go back to the house and do coffee and our morning stuff and then come back and get back to work on this. I don't know. I need to make some changes. I recognize I need to make some changes because I have found myself wasting a lot of time. And as you get older, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. And it seems like every day is getting faster and faster and faster. But I need to spend some time getting this stuff finished up so we can get that building standing, because I've got more projects that I want to do. I'm rambling now, aren't I? Y'all are tired of this. Like I always say, please keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families. We'll see you next week.